So tell us a little bit about how you first became an entrepreneur and what that drive was that led you there.
I'm highly competitive and generally discontent. And so that lended itself well to being an entrepreneur.
That sounds like everyone I
know. Welcome to The Decision from Nashville EO, where you will hear the rest of the story after tough decisions were made by entrepreneurs who faced adversity and lived to tell about it.
Welcome to The Decision, the EO Nashville podcast by and for entrepreneurs. We tell stories about all the fun that we have starting, building, running, scaling, selling, growing, dealing with all the BS that happens in between. With me today, as always, my partner in crime, Mr. Robert Hartline.
Good to be here.
Good to be here with you in this beautiful studio. And our special guest today, Mr. Jackson Miller, longtime EO Nashville member, proprietor of Plato's Closet, and also in the software business, built software to run businesses like the ones that he owns. ResaleAI, right?
Correct.
And you named that not in the last 2 years.
No, started that in 2015.
That was early. That good domain name pick. Then.
Yeah, skate where the puck is going, right? I mean, who's the futurism guy? Kurzweil talks about look at what's 10 years out and build a company for that. That's what I tried to do. So in the name, at least, timing was great.
and as you were talking about before the show, AI is not quite what you thought it was going to be. So tell us a little bit about what you thought it was going to be and where it looks like it's headed for you now.
Some stuff was right. I thought it'd be kind of commodity, off the shelf, open source kind of availability by now. But I thought it was going to be much more about decision-making, identification, categorization, some of the early stuff we saw with AI. The whole shift to like content generation being the main thing that AI is great at, and conversation, was not what I was expecting, but works out fine.
Cool. So tell us a little bit about how you first became an entrepreneur and what that drive was that led you there.
I'm highly competitive and generally discontent. And so that lended itself well to being an entrepreneur.
That sounds like everyone I know.
Yeah. So
can anybody just be satisfied? No.
It takes a lot of years to get there. I'm getting close, but
let me know when you get there.
Yeah. So, I started out, entrepreneurial ventures when I was real young. My domain name is techzen.net. And that was my first company when I was maybe 24, where I was helping nonprofits with technology. And just sort of found it more interesting to do my own thing than to go work in a bigger company. I've done that some, but lifelong entrepreneur.
And the clothing business. I remember seeing one of your stores when I would go to some of you kids may remember this, CDs that you would buy and sell. I think it was in Rivergate that you had a store, right?
That's not one of mine, but it's the same brand. It's a franchise, yeah. Funny story about that. Speaking of decisions, my dad went to Lotus Fest up in Bloomington, Indiana in 2002 or so to visit a college buddy who went to IU. And his college buddy owned some of these franchise stores. And he was like, oh, it's great. You just open them up and they make money. Well, that sounds pretty good. So he came back and was like, let's do this. You just open them up and they make money. Great. So we did. And we opened it up and almost went bankrupt. It was terrible. We had no idea what we were doing. We were losing money. I think the first year we did like $400,000 in sales. And the second year was like $350,000. It was like not good. What I didn't realize until much later is my dad's friend grew up in the retail business. His parents had like retail stores as a kid. Like he knew a lot of things we didn't know. So, we were both technology people. We dug in on the data and turned it around. But, it was always sort of intended to be passive, sort of part-time kind of thing, which worked out well at times. But
In the beginning, it's not that easy, right?
No.
So how did data inform you to change the business and turn it around?
Seasonality is a really big deal in retail, and even on a week level, right? Like Saturdays are bigger than Mondays. And so, when you're just barely covering rent, trying to know, like, are we going up or down? We started smoothing out the data, looking at 7-day, 30-day averages. And what we learned was it's a store where you buy and sell teenage clothing. We pay outright, it's not consignment. But what we learned was if people come to sell us their stuff and it's good and we buy it, but they don't leave with cash, they leave with other stuff, that's how you make money. Mm-hmm. And so that's the percentage of people that are trading. If I only could move one number to run those stores, that would be the number that I would use. And once we figured that out, things got a lot better. There's a lot of decisions that you make once that's your focus, right? Like, well, if they're going to trade, then we got to like do it quickly so that they stick around in the store. And if they're, we gotta make sure that we have the stuff that they want and know how to tell them that. And well, let's give them a discount. There's no sales tax on the trade amount. Let's double it. Let's give them 20% off if they trade or whatever. And so we started doing those kinds of things. Opened the second one, opened the third one. Was going to keep going, and then decided to diversify. Yeah.
And then software.
Well, there was a detour. I initially was going to do restaurants. I had worked restaurants in college, and I wanted to open up a chili place because there's not many chili places here. And I wanted it to be like hipster chili, like big chunky ingredients in East Nashville, probably do delivery. Then we started losing money again. And I didn't have the capital to open up the chili restaurant, but I knew how to write software. So I dug back in, tried to fix my business and build software in that process. And that's where ResaleAI came from. It was my chili restaurant because I couldn't afford the chili restaurant.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And now that's a much bigger part of my business and where the real money comes from. And and a little detour. I'm glad I didn't open the chili restaurant.
Well, how much time did you spend in the retail side to really understand like the customer, the employee relationship, how to grow retail and how to make an impact there? Or is it just kind of what was that like?
For me, a lot, I like to look at how do other people do this well. I don't have to invent everything. And so particularly with franchises, it's like how I can just look at other people running the same business and see how they do it well. But then also look for those opportunities. So we do a little bit of new inventory, but typically about 2%. That's little knickknacks on the counter. You can have a lot deeper density. Like with retail, it comes into what's the average ticket? How many customers come in, right? And that's why trade percentage helps because it increases the number of customers. But also then how fast you turn your inventory, how dense are your shelves? Like, is it shoppable? But is there a lot to pick from? If you only have a few items in the store, you're not going to sell many items. If you have a whole lot of items in the store, it's easy to navigate. We're going to stick around longer. They're going to pick out more things, right? So removing that friction in the process. If they're carrying around a bunch of stuff, we'll hold it for you. We'll start that fitting room. No rush. Whenever you're ready, you have 45 things you want to try on. Sounds good. You go right ahead, take all the time you need because it's really hard to get a person buying one thing to buy a second thing.
Yeah,
it's really easy to get somebody who's buying 20 things to buy 5 more. So the upsell comes on those customers who are in the mood to shop. And so just trying to remove friction, make things as easy and as fast and repeatable as possible. And that's where the software came in, was a lot around how do we remove the need for figuring out what to do and just kind of help you know what to do. How do we make sure that the same stuff gets done the same way, at the same time, over and over again?
But what's the difference between doing software versus retail in terms of business?
Software is a lot more predictable. When people get sick, when the tornadoes happen, that really affects retail, right? The outside world affects retail much more than software. And it's also too easy to get stuck in your office and not aware of your customers or the world or the needs around you, it's sort of obvious when you're in the store and a customer needs help. It's not as obvious when it's a software customer that's, states away that needs help. So, it's easier to sort of stay focused, but also easier to focus on the wrong thing when you're building software companies.
What was the biggest decision that you've had to navigate in either your business or personal that maybe EO helped you navigate through?
There's been a lot of big decisions that EO has helped me navigate. I guess we'll just go for it and go all in here. The biggest one was probably last year. We went on a retreat to Michigan, and my goal for the retreat was to be okay with leaving my wife. We were not in a great place and things had been escalating. And so I was going there to try and find peace with that. And my forum put together this amazing retreat last year. Not only were we on this nice house on the beach on Lake Michigan in Saginaw, we had outside facilitators come in that helped us with breath work, and somebody came in and did sound baths, and it was a very kind of frou-frou forum for a bunch of dudes, a bunch of
a little woo-woo.
Yeah, a little woo-woo, and got to some real core purpose stuff, and I did not meet my goal for that forum. I came out knowing myself better, having an appreciation for that we're in a season change, and it took two of us to tango on this, but my wife and I are doing great now, and I don't know that it would have happened without the forum retreat. And they were there to support me, in whatever was needed. But we just, we went through, and there was childhood trauma and what really brings you joy, and I have a better understanding of a core purpose after that retreat than I ever did.
And it was facilitated by an outside facilitator?
It was, yeah.
And what were they? How did they navigate that? Was it through some breath work, asking some key questions that made you just self-reflect, or what was it?
Yeah, so it was a retreat that had a lot of space for reflection. First of all, it was not a lot of overly planned activities, but there were. Kudos to her. Maya Komarada was the facilitator, and there was a lot of journaling. Everybody had their own journal, when they got there. Here's your book and your pen and your blanket, and we're gonna do some breath work. I'm like, what the hell's breath work? And do a cold plunge. That sounds terrible. It was, but it also was great. And so it was a series of activities with space between them and time for reflection and, phone calls to people back home to tell them what you haven't said. And, it was,
that
special.
Sounds really, really powerful. How did the forum agree to do that kind of experience, to go inward?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times I think some forums go into this, go have fun, let's, but this is a clear example how something could save a marriage of how many years?
2010.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. 15 years.
Wow.
So how did we agree to go in and go deep like that? We have a good forum. We have a really good forum. We've been together a long time. This forum was created as a new forum when we joined EO, and half of us are still here from that original forum. We have good meetings, but I think it was probably our 5th year in forum. I can share this. Alex Tolbert came in as the new moderator, and he asked our permission to be a benevolent dictator as moderator. And he just made some changes, but it was always with the goal of doing what's best for the forum itself. And it was benevolent. It wasn't just a dictator. And that's become a cultural norm within our forum, that the moderator has a lot of leeway. So to some regards, it was just that it was set up that way. But it was special that everybody showed up. I mean, we got to the 0.5% last year. And it was once in a lifetime experience, I think.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Doing an event like that with people that you're close to, have you been able to navigate bringing that into your business with your team? And are you able to integrate some of those things that come out of your forum experience that is helpful as you as a leader?
Yes. I don't know about that experience per se, although, some of it is that understanding myself is really important to that. I like to build things. I like to grow things. I like to start things new. And I don't have a lot of regard for the status quo, has been historically, but now I have a business that's been around for 20 years and like a software company that's 10 years old. Like I am also the status quo. And so understanding that about myself helps me not screw up my business, helps me like let go of stuff and let them like manage it and know that I need to have a playground somewhere safe that's not going to disrupt things. I'm starting to think about the next thing, and it will be a little separate. And so knowing that helps. And then the way that we talk about experience and advice and whatnot in forum, don't give advice. It's a different part of the mind that works. And if I'm like saying what someone else should do, it's easy to come from like I don't know, mind science or whatever, but like it's not, I don't feel it, right? I'm just thinking it. But when it's from my own experience, I'm feeling it, and I'm a little more considerate. I'm a little more empathetic. And also, sometimes if I'm just spouting off ideas, they're not well thought through, right? There's nothing backing them. There's no meat there. And so the process of speaking from experience has changed me as a leader. Probably that's the biggest thing for me.
There's so many stories of people navigating relationships in EO.
Yeah.
That, we are really lucky to be able to talk about them, because most people don't have a group of 8 powerful people that we hang out with that are navigating relationship challenges. I know EO was instrumental in helping me keep my marriage going. And I could easily have seen that I would totally strayed away from trying to work on things like I did if I had not had a group of people that had already navigated those kind of things. So it is pretty wild how that does kind of integrate in how we build on our relationships and navigate those ending of relationships. So it's not even just like marriages, but it's like people we work with, people we do business with, like navigating. Really the number one problem is always ourselves. Yeah. Like we're the one that is more likely sabotaging all the beauty that's in our lives.
Yeah. What's the common denominator here?
Yeah.
You guys ever have one of those moments where somebody in your forum made an observation about you that just like stung, but also like changed your life?
Yes.
Taylor Milliken told me one time, he said, Jackson, sometimes you focus too much on the win-lose instead of the win-win. I was like, oh shit. It just came and hit me like a ton of bricks. And it was absolutely true. And I don't know that I'm better at it now, but I'm at least more aware of it. And I try to be better at it. But that's that competitive side.
Yeah. My own forum was very patient with me for a long time because I had some problems that were in every update I ever did. and I'm surprised still they didn't kick me out. Like, is this son of a bitch ever going to fix this thing? And now I feel like I'm on, I guess I'm just slow to learn, but yeah, that forum, the forum, and I'll get back to my original question I was going to ask you. The whole benevolent dictator thing sounds probably abhorrent to some folks, but I kind of love it because you've got a person that you trust that's got a vision for what they want to do for the coming year. So what different things have you seen come out of that way of running a forum?
Well, one, it makes things happen faster. Getting a bunch of leaders to agree on something takes forever, has a lot of discussion. And at the end of the day, everybody kind of has like a poor taste in their mouth, right? Like it's not what anybody quite wanted. So like it allows things to just happen.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, well, shit, they're moderator. I can do, I'll switch it back later. But the kinds of things, so we do the clearing round, like I'm good with you. I'm good with you. That I received a lot of pushback when whoever did it. Not everything sticks, but when somebody will change the update form, like, hey, I went to the moderator breakfast, there's this new form, we're going to use it now. The way we do the second presentation and vote on it, that has changed so many times from like a 3-point scale to a 5-point scale to like, I wanted someday just do like I would present it on it. I won't present on it 2-point scale, but like, that kind of thing has changed. We started paying for retreat and expenses ahead of time. It was somebody's change, just all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Somebody instituted, somebody brings timers and there's like multiple timers around and there's somebody in charge of timers. Every little change that's happened from the forum has been because the moderator just decided, and they don't all stick, but sometimes they stick. So it allows us to try more stuff.
Yeah, well, that's a great way to go about it. This idea of giving everybody a say it reminds me of the phrase, a camel is a horse designed by a committee. You're not going to get those unique ideas, and they don't all stick, but sometimes they can be transformational.
The other way to think about it too is like you got 8 people in a room that are making decisions
all the time,
all day long, and it's like the last thing I want to do is go in the forum and debate who's going to be holding a timer. Like, no, I don't care.
Right.
And I don't want to do some scale and to work on my constitution again. Oh my gosh, really? Seriously?
Yeah.
Moderator, yes.
Tell me what to do.
Tell me what the rules are. Hey, I just emailed everybody the rules. If you're curious, read the fucking thing.
Yeah.
And then that's how we're going to rule things. But we're going to focus on getting impact out of the time we have together. And the most important thing is getting good, vulnerable stories opened up so we can navigate life and then move on. Yeah. What are you looking forward to for you? Like either business or personally, like in this new phase for your life? What does that look like?
Yeah, I'm totally in a season change. My business doesn't need me as much as it did. My kids, I only have one in the house. We have 6 kids. Our youngest is a sophomore in high school and, just got his driver's license and he'll get a car here soon. And like, so the world's wide open. I lean way big into my hobbies. Right now I'm racing sailboats. I'm really looking forward to next weekend. I'm taking my boat down to Jackson, Mississippi to race. I got a few more travel regattas this year. And then I'm working on my next thing and I'm working on it slowly. Yeah, but I'm excited about whatever that's going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you worked on your core purpose, the reason why you're here. Tell us a little bit about that as much as you'd like, and how did you arrive at it?
Yeah. So it means a lot to me. It might not sound as much to other people, right? But for me, it's really embracing dissonance in order to help facilitate resolve. And that's what I like doing. I like when things just don't quite sit right, it's not obvious. Really leaning into that, really getting in the muck and the dirt and like figuring it out and, looking at the things you don't want to look at sometimes and helping get that to a better place. Right. And I really like solutions that are obvious in hindsight.
Yeah.
It's not obvious in foresight, right? It's like, I don't know what the hell the problem is. But then when you look back, you're going like, oh man, of course, right? Like that's how I know that it's right. And so, the next thing is going to be called obvious. With you, it becomes obvious. And that's what I want to do. I'm still figuring out exactly what that looks like. But it's pretty exciting.
Now, is it to help others discover this?
Yeah. Well, like we have an area of expertise. We're running our business. There's things that are going right. And there's also something that's not quite right. And you could have this guy look at it, but this guy's busy. You could have this team look at it, but this, maybe you've tried a couple of things and it just doesn't sit right. That's the one I want to work on, right? Like I can come in broad generalist, and really like dig in and figure out what's going on there. And when it works right, you look back and go, oh yeah, of course. Everything's so much smoother now. And that's what a lot of my software does is it automates things and tries to make the right thing to do, the easiest thing to do, and lets computers do what computers are good at so that people do what people are good at. It's the same principles. I don't want to build another product. I want to build the same benefit with systemic change within organizations.
And that sounds to me like there's not accounting for that sort of change, right? It
can be.
It can, yeah.
Right. There can be. But sometimes not. Sometimes it just makes things run smoother. Sometimes it just makes people happier,
It might be a mindset change or, yeah.
Yeah. But it's that friction that's holding us back, right? The things that aren't quite right are these friction points that like we have to keep our eye on, or somebody has to manually do this shit, or every once in a while something blows up, or, these kind of things. Just removing those friction points a little bit to where it's sort of self-healing.
Yeah. Yeah. Finding that sand in the machine, I guess, is the point.
I love the idea of software that does things that you don't have to interact with that gives value.
Yeah, but it's also got this other, we do a lot of that, and that's visible and that you can monitor and that gives you feedback on what it's done, because it's really easy to have things just running and then like you forget about it. And sometimes that's good, sometimes it's not, you know what I mean? Like, or like this anxiety of like, is that thing working right? Sometimes it's hard to make it also like visible. And
how do you keep yourself from overcomplicating a solution? There's two competing ideas on that. One is like, don't let perfect be the enemy of great, kind of thing. And done's better than perfect. And then the other one is that like always being aware of how it could be better. Right? Like when I have software developers working for me, I always want them to be able to tell me how their solution sucks. Like, hey, this is done good. The test passed. That's great. Why does it suck? Because it does. There's a reason it sucks. If it doesn't suck, you're either not aware or you spend way too much time on it. You know what I mean? But knowing what sucks, sometimes those are really easy grabs, right? And so if you're aware of the problems, you're aware of the things like kind of the roadmap, here's the things we'd like to fix. Every once in a while that lines up where you can fix 3 of them at once, and that's exactly the kind of thing I'm talking about, right? So like, so being aware of why it's not right, but also making sure that it's better than it was. Do the simplest solution, fastest solution, and then iterate. So what do you think the next level of this AI stuff, because everything is going to be drastically exponential on all the tools that we're going to be using. What are we not ready for that is going to be a real struggle for a lot of people to deal with?
Oh man, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news.
Bring the dissonance.
Yeah, the economy's a little weird right now. I don't know if you guys noticed. Right?
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. Yeah,
things are a little
off. By
off.
the way, this is the 4th, so a lot of changes in the air.
Yeah, I don't know what you want to call it: recession, downturn, depression, whatever. Like something's going to happen. Jobs are going away at times. I don't think some of them come back. I think that there's we've got this huge generation in the boomers that have been transitioning out of the workforce and are also moving on. And they were slow to give up power and control and stayed in the workforce for a long time. But as they sort of move on out, I don't know that there's a lot more opportunity behind them. I think that, yeah, somebody has to run the robots, but it doesn't take as many people. And I actually raised my kids from a very young age to like, hey, the robots are coming. And you know, if you want to have something to do, like you're going to be working on the robots.
Yeah.
And my oldest son now works for GitHub, which is where people store their code. It's a company owned by Microsoft. It's actually working on their Copilot team that's doing automated development, AI software development stuff. And it's literally like working on the robots. And so it's like, well, shit, I hope that was good advice. But, you know, so I'd have to ask him where it's going. In the short term, purpose-built AIs and chain them together. You know, so I think sometimes people try and get a single thing to do too much.
Yeah.
And really, you know, making one that's great at writing a table of contents, making another one that's great at writing an introductory chapter, making one that's great at like outlining the key points, making one that's great at like, you know, making sure that it's colloquial enough, making one, you know, and then just chaining them together. That's how you write a book. You don't ask the AI to write a book.
Yeah. I feel that too. I feel like AI is making everyone think they're creative now. And so everyone is quote unquote creative, writing articles and publishing stuff. So AIs can read our articles written by AI and go into circle this. I don't quite see where it could go other than the positive of it, well, especially with music and film. Because, you know, now I think we're in a stage where AI can help create storytelling to help me deal with the issue I'm trying to navigate. Because we learn more through stories. And if we could go about with AI, you know, crafting a story to help me decide on something by giving me like these different options in storytelling, like watching Netflix. If you watch Netflix and you had a decision riding on your shoulders that you had to navigate and you could watch a story about it, it helps you navigate that story. And, you know, custom storytelling, I think is interesting, but like if everyone is a creative, like who's consuming the content? And is it a way to monetize? The
AI is consuming it because everybody else is saying, hey, can you summarize this story for me? Right? Like,
yeah,
give me the key points. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah.
But could it have written Severance? I don't know if you guys have watched that series yet or not. No. It's
yeah. You know, right. It's just a tool. It feels to me like when I first started my career, you know, the web was new. You know, we were like building the web for the first time. It's like, oh, we're going to put this on the web. That's never been done before. That was cool. And then like there was a second phase where like it started with really blogs and like how applications and sites started talking together, right? It started this quote unquote web 2.0. It was like a decade of like innovation and new kinds of businesses and that kind of stuff. We're like in year 2 of this, right? This is going to be a decade of change. It's going to look really different at the end of it. You know, in the first one, not everybody had a computer on their desk, you know, and at the end of this one, I think not everybody has a desk.
Yeah.
So if you were talking to a group of EO members that just joined, what would be words of wisdom from a tenured EO member on how to get the most experience out of EO? What would that look like?
Yeah, lean in, man. Some of it's uncomfortable. The clearing around is uncomfortable. You know, staying on time is uncomfortable. Like doing your update ahead of time, and really, the more I put in, that might influence my forum mate to put in just a little bit more. The more they put in, it might influence me to put in a little bit more. And by just sticking to the structure, I think structure in forum is really important. But sticking to some structure, agreeing to the base rules, and leaning in, I couldn't imagine a world without my forum, and it becomes that valuable.
Yeah, good point.
Thanks, Jackson. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
If you are in Nashville, Tennessee, and you're looking for a place to belong, a group of other driven entrepreneurs who come together every single month and share stories together to help important decisions in their lives, you can visit eonashville.com and learn how over 350 of us get together. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your week.
Thanks for listening to the Decision Podcast by Nashville EO. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.